This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
Fantastico. I'm broadcasting to you live from Los Dicadore.
And I am broadcasting live from my office. Yay! Away from
Manhattan Beacho.
Manhattan Beach, California.
Actually, this photograph is from a town right near where my grandparents are from, in Italy.
Oh,
So it's just a fun place to visit, even my mind.
that's pretty awesome.
Pandemic. So we're a couple of days off our schedule,
Yes.
and I'm just curious: as our class, does that upset their schedule, or do they don't care?
Yeah, because they're all at church. Hold on. No. Hold on. Not really.
Really? Okay. I think because they're outside of time,
Right.
big deal to ring their doorbell.
They already know. So they already know before
Yeah.
I say, "Oh, I can't do it." I was
Oh.
having a physical done, and then
Cool. In my case, sometimes I'm having a conversation with Luana. I mean, I find myself waking up, half awake, half asleep. And within the conversation, she's telling me something. And this happened, I think, last week, a couple days before
Mhm.
our scheduled time. And she was in the midst of telling me something. I became aware of it in the dream. Oh, I'm having a conversation with Luana. And for the audience tuning in for the first time, Luana's our friend on the flip side who helps us navigate a classroom.
Mhm.
Luana Anders.
I have her clipboard and I have mine.
Yeah, I have my clipboard with a bunch of stuff on it. But anyway, I'm having this dream where I'm talking to my friend Luana, but I'm aware that we're in mid-conversation, so I don't know what was said before. And at some point, she started to say something. And I said, "Oh, I get it. That's funny." But she never said it. So it's like my higher self was tapping in to herself. And I was trying consciously to remember what was the thing that I saw that I said, "Oh, I get it. That's funny." And I couldn't access it. It's like when we're talking to somebody and they give you an answer, or you sometimes answer before I even think the question.
Right.
It was like that. And then I asked her, I said, "What was it? What was the context? So we can talk about it in class." And she said, "Process and access." Meaning, how is this information processed and how do we access them? So let's ask Luana. Is that something you wanted to talk about?
Yes. I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because you forget. People forget." And then
People forget.
She is pointing at me. Even I forget to ask. Here I ask all day long for everybody else.
Yeah.
I ask, actually, I even dive into more questions thanks to you. I don't just take what they give me. I actually dive in even further for questions. But she said, we forget that we have access, that we can ask.
That we can ask. So let's go down those two avenues and see where they go. So Lou, let's talk about process. What is the process of you guys changing your frequency so that we can have a conversation?
We just allow it to happen. We don't want you thinking that you have to vibrate at a certain level, because there's a lot of people, thank you, like when you're in a desperate moment, for instance, somebody's really sick and they're dying and you're praying to, God or source, or don't get caught up on semantics. Your vibration is so, at that point in time, you're begging. Like, it's not something that you don't have to think of yourself as being energetic. They don't want you to think that you have to be energetically, oh, I'm connected to be connected. It could be at any point in your life. And this is what people don't understand. They think their frequency is too low, that's the reason why they're not getting messages, and that couldn't be farther away from the truth. But if you think that way, then the universe lets you have it that way. So thank you. So when Luana said this in the beginning, that we just access it, because what did I say? I already forgot. Hold on.
Oh, just that idea of frequency adjustment. It's not so important for people over here to adjust their frequency or raise it or shout or be intense.
You have to believe it, and that's what they said.
Have to believe it.
Have to
believe what you said?
Yes. So that's what I said.
Okay. So let's hold that for 1 second. It's important. We've heard it before. The idea of believing that it's possible. You don't have to wear a pyramid hat and believe that by wearing this hat, suddenly you can communicate with people on the other side. You don't have to.
Right, and you don't need someone like me to interpret it either.
And you don't need a medium, and you don't need some special symbols or crystals or whatever. Those are all great. Maybe they help you relax and focus. You don't need all that. First of all, you need to believe in the possibility. It doesn't mean you have to now take out tarot cards and you have to put on the pyramid hat and you have to do something. But if you believe in the possibility, it's literally like believing that it's possible the sun's going to come up tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so just allowing that it's possible to communicate. That's key to getting us on the highway. What's the next step in the process?
Thank you. The next thing is not to be so focused on the answer you want to hear.
Very key.
Wow. I should take that advice, because I'll ask questions when I know,
Write that down.
like, I know the answer, or I have like, yes, you're going to tell me yes.
Well, even in the case of a person out there, average Joe, who wants to know, how can I help cure my mom? Or how can I get rid of this disease? You're so invested in the outcome that you can't. Is that what you're saying?
So if you're so invested in hearing the right out, if you're so invested in the answer, then it'll be challenging for other things to come through. Mm-hmm. They're saying don't focus on the answer.
Don't focus on the answer.
Focus. So I asked them, I'm like, what should they focus on? Hearing these pictures. Pictures will pop into your head.
Okay.
And then you can ask a question about that.
Okay. So just to clarify, we've talked about this a little bit. Don't judge the answer. So you ask a question, anything. Grandma, can I talk to you? And grandma comes forward and she says, I'm busy playing pinochle. Don't judge the answer. Just that's one image, one idea, one thought. Just allow, okay, I heard something weird, pinochle. And now what's the next? So address that image, what's in your head, playing cards. And then she might have something else to say. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It might be about, and then if she's playing pinochle, which I don't understand what that means, if she's playing that, it might be that she's showing you a game. She's not actually playing it to not talk to you. She's showing you a game because she's telling you to free your mind or to go play.
Brilliant. Excellent. That this is like a game. This game that we play.
It's basically playing charades. So your interpretation might be one thing, oh, she's too busy, but really she's trying to tell you that you need to stop being busy.
Well, I used to play pinochle with my grandmother.
What is pinochle? What is that?
It's an Italian game. I think it's an Italian game, but it's a card game. And, my grandmother was in her 60s, 70s. And, the boys were out running around shooting things. And I was like, yeah, come on, let's play cards. But the idea, and I've said this to people who ask me this process, how do you do it? How do you talk to your loved ones? I always say, let's start by imagining it's a game, that the outcome is not so serious that you have to worry about it. It's a game. Play a game. How do you play a game? You imagine. Imagine I'm sitting here. Imagine your loved one, your grandmother, grandfather, Luana, is sitting across from you and play a game where you picture them, imagine them,
Right.
and then see the visual of who they are, who they were. Go ahead.
You're getting really good about my cues without me saying anything.
I listen to you breathe.
So when they showed me something that I have to bring up as well, like for instance, I've been asking really big questions, like what's going to happen in October? Like I'm convinced that something's happening in October. And I started asking, like, are we going to have a natural disaster because of all the fires, or is it dealing with somebody getting shot, the election or some, it's very challenging because I'm so focused on
the answer.
That there's no way they can show me anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So so once you get in your head, because you think there's something, it's something.
And we've experienced that many times, because for those who are tuning in for the first time, Jennifer and I have been doing this for 5 years. Usually we're in a restaurant and we have 2 hours. I have a camera and I film everything. And then I go home and I transcribe it. Sometimes a month later, I'm transcribing it. What Jennifer has said has occurred. Or a year later, I'm editing the text and the thing that Jennifer said then has occurred. At the time, she saw it maybe not so clear, maybe something like a boat on a waterway. And now we get to a year later, and now a friend of ours is in a boat on a waterway, and they're reporting. It's so weird because I didn't realize I was going to be on a boat in the water. So
right.
That's again, this is about process. Jennifer's getting an image, sometimes a sound, sometimes a feeling, sometimes a smell, sometimes whatever it is. And she interprets it to the best of her ability, but just like anybody else would. Anybody out there watching, you get an image, you ask your relative a question, try not to judge the answer, but try to write it down and interpret it later.
And if it doesn't make sense, write it down and email it to yourself.
And sometimes a cousin.
Right.
Well, I'll give you an example. On Quora, a guy wrote to me and said he's a scientist in London and he was playing this game. Didn't believe he could. And he had a conversation with his mother who passed away 10 years ago. He asked her, who was there to greet you when you crossed over? And he heard her voice say a name. He'd never heard the name before, but he was startled because it was his mother's voice. But he also didn't know who the person was. So he reached out to his sister who said, oh, that's your maternal grandfather. He died before you were born. You didn't know him, but she was very close to him. That answer startled him to a great degree. I've had a couple of people reach out to me just recently with identical things where they asked a question, they got an answer, and then they had to ask a sibling, what does that mean? And then they learned it means something. You see, that can't be what they call cryptomnesia,
right?
Which is the knock, that people are making it up, they saw it in a movie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's process. Ask, get the images. Don't judge the images.
Don't judge.
Ask questions about the images, follow-up questions.
Right.
Columbo.
And a lot of times they'll come in feelings about the image too. So like, what does that mean? And you'll have a feeling about it. But if you already have a preconceived notion of what you think it is, then it makes it impossible. I'm like, it makes it difficult. And she goes, no, impossible for them to come and change it.
So in other words, you interpret it such a way, your emotions become attached to the interpretation, then it's very difficult for them to say, no, not that.
Right. They just showed it to me like when I was worried about my mom.
Right.
And oh my gosh, you're taking my mom. I was convinced because the second I went that direction, they're just like, there was just no way they could tell me otherwise.
Converse. So that's about process, which
Right.
is what we were talking about. This idea of them slowing their frequency down, maybe not to you, but to the rest of us while we're sleeping or whatever experience we're having, meditating, They have to slow their frequency down to pass along, and they have to learn how to do it. It's not something everybody knows. Passing a message via an engram.
Whatever, and every person is different. So you might get a feeling, you might get a picture,
A smell.
or a smell. Everybody has a different language, and they work with that.
Okay. And so that's key. Everybody has a different language, and they work with that language.
Absolutely. I just happen to have all of them, which just makes it more difficult for me to understand.
Yeah, multilingual.
Right.
But that idea of process and then access, there was something that came to me the next day, the next night.
Mhm.
And I was trying to get a hold of what she was trying to tell me. And it came out as palindrome. And I thought, you mean like Madam in Eden, I'm Adam, which, you say it both ways, backwards and forwards. And she said, yeah, the idea that we're here, part of our conscious self is here, a third, let's say, what people refer to, and 2/3 of us is always back home. So it's like I'm Richard here, and I'm also Richard on the flip side. And we have to remember that we have this palindrome always, so we can access our higher selves or our guides or our friends or our loved ones, because their energy is always back there, back home.
Right.
Did you want to talk about that at all, or is that what you meant, or am I getting that all wrong?
No, you got it right. Hold on. We ask to be asked. So, thank you. They're there no matter what. Just like your guides are there no matter what. Your loved ones are there. All you have to do is think of them. But they ask to be asked. The information, like, ask them, are you there? Because that'll give them a chance to get more of a,
To reply.
To reply.
Also, something else, Luan, I'd want to ask you this.
And so she just showed me, sorry, she just showed somebody being asked, asking a question and them just going like this. Like, so in order for them to feel it more, ask who you want to talk to. Give them time.
That's their name.
Right.
Say their name.
I work with names. That's what I do. That's my, a lot of people have different modalities that they use. I work with names.
You said this recently, and I thought it was very interesting. Also, the name helps them fix in time who you're referring to. Because if you talk to your great-grandmother, but you're also aware that she's also had her previous lifetime as a Viking, if you refer to great-grandmother, asking her questions about the Viking era is just confusing. But if you ask the Viking about his experience, let's say, so asking a name helps them to figure out where on their timeline. Is that right?
Correct. It's going to your Akashic. It's going to the Akashic records and just pulling them out. Yes.
Pulling it out and open it up to the right page.
Yes.
By the way, Luana, do you need a library card to get into the Akashic library?
You just showed me my daughter. That's so funny. Only because I took her library card away when she's done like 2 things wrong her whole life. I took the library card away. She's like, I'll just get a new one. I'm like, no, I'll put a poster saying, do not give this to me. Who takes a library card away from their kid?
Mom.
You're not going to read anymore. That's your punishment. Okay.
How do we get a library card, Lou?
Everyone has one.
Okay.
You have a heart? You have a heart? You have a library card.
All right. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because that's process and access. So people talk about accessing the Akashic library. I'm often fond of reminding people that the word Akashic is not a religious term. It's not a pyramid term. It literally means invisible or etheric in Sanskrit. So they're talking about a library that people can't see consciously, but if you're in a dream, under hypnosis, took LSD, maybe a near-death event, something, talking to a medium, and their filters are off, they get a library card and get in there and access the library. And Jennifer and I have accessed quite a few, each one different. Nobody reports the exact same, but unusually so. We've actually spoken to a librarian, somebody who handles the library stuff. But that aside,
Libraries, yes.
that aside, because people can pick up a copy of Backstage Pass to the flip side to read an interview with a librarian. But Luana, accessing the library of one's life, the memories of all their lifetimes. Talk a little bit about what's the process, what's the easiest, or what would be a method?
She just keeps showing me you and and then they showed me Morton, Morton, how you shorten the time about getting somebody into that state, and how you've done that many times.
So how am I bypassing those filters? This is what I'm calling them now. It's just an easy term, but it appears that everybody has filters on their brain that prevent them from accessing this, and probably for logical reasons, probably for self-preservational reasons. You know, you can't run around the planet remembering all your previous lifetimes. Makes it hard to, get a coffee when you recognize the barista as somebody who poisoned you in the 13th century.
Right.
But, so Lou, just talk a little bit about the process. Are you saying that people can access their library by having someone like me or a friend sort of do a guided meditation and walking them into the library, or can they do it without anyone?
A guided meditation, because they'll get pictures. And they'll probably discount them, but they'll get pictures in their head. Like from this, I just saw two girls that were wearing, those white those bonnets and white, like they'll get pictures in their head.
Mormon girls?
They could do it through what?
Mormon girls?
Probably. They could do it through meditation. They could do it through, like Brian Weiss. They showed me Brian Weiss. They showed me you. Like when you first were talking about this, I was being shown how, when you asked, like, what is it that makes me be able to do this? And they said it was because they dropped their guard down because you're trustworthy. They trust you. And so that immediately disarms them, and then they see, like, people come.
The hyper-vigilant guard at the gate, bouncer.
People come to my office and they have to trust me before we can even get started, right?
Yeah.
And I love scaring them, boo, in the office, but that's besides the point. So, okay, go back, hold on. Thank you. So pick a modality that bothers you about yourself. Like, why is it that I have, not why is it that I have cancer, or why is it because,
anger.
Yeah, or why is it that I have anger towards these people, or why is it that I have,
fear,
ADD, or fear, or I'm afraid of the water, I'm afraid to fly, whatever it is.
Afraid of the water, like a phobia.
Right, a phobia of some sort. And then just lay down and see what comes, and then ask those questions without having a conviction towards the answer or trying to sway the jury kind of thing. Well,
let me ask you, Lou, would this be valuable? Because sometimes people ask, what's the source of my phobia? And then suddenly they're drowning, in the 16th century.
They just told me you need to do a meditation. You need to do a guided meditation and record it so people can have it.
Well, that's good. That would be a way. But I'm asking, can we perhaps, if you have to do it by yourself, maybe add this little element, which is imagine a library. Try not to judge it, but imagine yourself in a library, whatever that word brings to mind. Could be Greek, could be Roman, could be the local public library. Walking through the stacks, walking up to the book of your life, and then you look through the titles and, phobias. And you're going to pull that phobia book out, open it up, and this way you're not connected to the image. You're asking the book to give you the memory of the painful event. Would that be helpful, Lou?
Very much so.
So it's like a guided meditation, but I've just given it. So,
right.
That way you can close the book, put it back on the shelf, and say, gee, I got to think about that. I just saw there was a guy, this was online recently, and a guy had written an article about how he had gone to see a hypnotherapist, And he wanted to know why he had dandruff his whole life, or eczema, or some issue. And he flashed back to being scalped. The hypnotherapist said, let's go back. And his conscious mind was like, oh, come on. You mean scalp and scalped, and it's too connected, and I'm making this up. But the guy just dismissed it entirely. Whereas Dr. Weiss, you mentioned him, Michael Newton, and others have reported incidents where they had clients who have accessed the memory of being something on. I filmed it in the movie Flipside. Woman had severe aquaphobia, remembered drowning, and accessed why that happened, what happened, and then a couple of months later, I filmed her swimming. The phobia went away.
Right.
So it's possible to do that. One could argue you're tapping into your subconscious, and the subconscious is allowing you to overcome it. However, the result is the same.
You don't even have to believe in it. You should try, but you don't have to believe in it, and see if it works.
See if it works. Okay, Lou, take a look at your clipboard. Has anybody come forward today that wanted to talk to us? I knew you wanted to talk about access and process.
Billy's come through.
Oh, Mr. Paxton.
Yeah, he's come through a couple times as we were talking, but every time we went on another tangent. So
I'm sorry, Billy. I didn't see you over her shoulder.
Okay.
What's up?
Hold on. Oh, he's actually showing me RJ, your son.
Okay.
He's become a really good guitar player. Is he playing guitar? I thought he was playing the piano.
Okay, audience, I haven't told her that RJ has picked up the guitar. I have not told her that he's become a master technician of the guitar. In 2 weeks, he started playing these songs that he learned online. If I brought him in right now, he'd blow your mind. I am startled that he can play the guitar. Thank you, Billy.
Billy says he's better than you.
Yes, yes. He's 15.
I did not know this. He just was showing me. I had to say it. I know better than not to say it, but he says that he's accessing. That's another. Oh, you're trying to work it in. He's accessing himself from another time.
Billy is smarter than me. I just got to give this, he was always smarter than me. He was a better director than me.
But
obviously a great actor. But here he is sharing some really brilliant insight, something that Jennifer couldn't possibly know.
No.
That my son picked up the guitar about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, and started playing. And I've sat with him a couple of times and just, showed him a couple of chords. And I was jaw-dropping saying, where'd you learn that? He heard it once. And House of the Rising Sun. He plays it as good as it is on the original record.
He says that he's going to be one of the best, he's going to be one of the best guitar players there is.
Billy, come on. Let's not go down that path. Likely outcomes. I appreciate it. No, I love the guy. He can say whatever he wants. Come on.
I didn't know that he played guitar. I knew that he was a great piano player. And usually when your mother comes through, she talks about his piano playing.
Piano playing, yes, he does. And we watch him play. And my wife the other day said, didn't Jennifer say that your mother is helping him play? Because, forget about it. My mom was a concert pianist. So what can I say? Yeah. AnthonyMartini.com. You can hear her play.
I was waiting
for Billy, that can't be the only thing you want to tell us. But it could be. But yes, are you talking about the access?
Yes, it was to wrap up. He said, it was a teaching. Thank you. It was a teaching moment that RJ, he showed me and then he showed me how I accessed Billy, right? That's step number 1. He showed me something that I did not know, which was RJ playing the guitar. I knew who RJ was. That's your son. And then he showed us how RJ is accessing versions of himself, whether it's consciously or not consciously, and he doesn't have fear with it, and he's just playing away, which is exceptional. And then he showed me, it's kind of like Beethoven, right? How Beethoven, he's saying it's kind of like that. That's how great of a player he is, which I didn't know about. You're listening to him play, but so he's saying it's something for all of us to learn, that by accident, don't have fear. I didn't have fear with getting, okay, thank you. That's the biggest message. I did not have fear with what Billy Paxton told me. I didn't have fear telling you this. The worst thing that could happen is I was wrong, and you'd say, no, I don't know about the guitar. Like, that's right.
Well, that would be a first, Jennifer.
But
to allow this thought, and I appreciate it, Billy, but we have talked a little bit about it before.
But I didn't have fear, and neither does your son. He doesn't have. That's brilliant. The big thing I wanted to say.
I think that's brilliant. That the dropping the fear helps you with the access. Right. Dropping the fear helps you with accessing your loved ones on the other side. Dropping the fear of why you're on the planet helps you navigate the planet. But it's also key to this moment of access to music. Beethoven wrote about it, how he connected to the beyond the spheres, he called it, where music came from to him. So he had no fear to accessing those sounds, those tones, those vibrations that somehow, perhaps when he was asleep, also awake when he was writing.
Right.
Unbelievable scores. He pulled down this information. Oh, I'm pretty good at that. From the flip side. And so what Billy is also saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, which is when you open yourself up to the other side, to creativity, you can channel things.
You can channel, and hold on. He's like, everything. I'm like, what's the percentage of people channeling? He's like 60%. And then he's kidding around. He's like, everything is channeled. Everything is. It's just whether you're conscious of it or not. Whether you have writing, you get the writer's block that goes with everything.
Yeah.
Because if you have fear, then you get blocked.
Okay. Let's examine this, unpack this for a second. Everything is channeled. We talked to Chadwick Boseman last week, and we asked him how was he able to channel so many characters that he played. And he was saying how he was able to act. He said it in life, too, that, he'd say, this take is for James Brown because I can hear him in heaven telling me how to do this. But Billy just said something very interesting, and I think it's key, and it has to do with access. Everything is channeled. So if we take the Madam, I'm Adam sentence, that we are also here and we're also off stage back home, a bulk of us, 2/3 of us, according to everybody, then when we access information, we're channeling that information as well. And so it's almost like we're marionettes as humans. Certainly we go through our own cappuccino, pizza, wine, whatever I'm going through. Billy, am I right? Is that what you meant?
Yes. Yes. And then he showed me something else, though, that was interesting. I'm like, well, people are studying, and then he showed me the Bible. Like, people study, but the people are studying information that has been channeled. So, like, if you're studying Beethoven, Beethoven channeled it. So somebody has channeled whatever you're studying one way or another, or they learned about it one way or another. And then I got shown, hold on a second. Damn it, I just missed it. Show me again, hold on a second. Oh, the Bible was channeled.
That's what I was going to ask.
Who wrote the Bible? The Bible was channeled. It was channeled. I mean, people wrote about the Bible hundreds of years later after the fact. Like,
I've heard it quite often, people talking about the Bible being the Word of God. And I always say the metaphor of what God is trying to tell you about unconditional love, about how to live your life, etc., etc. They argue. They get upset. They burn people. They hang them. They put them at the stake because they want to say that their interpretation of that book is the only one. But if you consider that everything is channeled or pulled off the flip side or from a higher self, then it changes everything that we know, doesn't it? All right. I got a weird one for you. Billy, that was great. You're going to help me with this. Luana, that was great. I hope you can help me with this one. This came this morning, just popped into my head. And I thought, why not? So there's a dog that I want to access. And the dog's name is Venus. Venus.
It's funny because I saw Lassie when you said that.
Okay.
Venus.
Venus. Little dog. I'll tell you as much as I can. But I want to find out. I want to talk to him because we've had this experience.
Is connected to Sherry?
No.
Okay.
Not connected to anyone that's in my family or around my world, but connected to somebody that I know.
Venus. Okay.
And Luana, listen, we don't have to talk to Venus. Luana, I'm putting him onto your guest list. Or maybe you already put him in there. That's why I thought it was a good idea. But Lou, can we talk to Venus?
Yes.
Okay. Can you put an image of Venus in Jennifer's mind? And I'll try to unpack it for her. Small or large?
That's tough because I already had Lassie in mind, and you already said it was a small dog. So
yeah, smaller than Lassie. I'm trying to remember what they're called. I think they're. Do you remember the movie Mask? There was a dog in it. It was
no,
a little.
that was like I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
In it.
Wait, no, he's a Jack Russell Terrier. Sorry, Venus. Jack Russell Terrier. I met him on a boat.
Okay.
And he was unusually friendly with me because there were a lot of people on the boat. But he would come over to me and like hang out with me. And I felt, well, this is pretty cool, Venus. But something happened to Venus. And I wonder if, Venus, you can show Jennifer what happened to you.
I almost felt like he was missing. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's correct.
And then he's showing, because I just saw like a poster of a reward of him missing. But I don't,
that in your mind, missing. Yeah, that's correct.
And
you
then,
want to show Jennifer what happened? How did you go missing?
But okay, so my first instinct, because you mentioned a boat, that he went overboard.
That's correct. You're correct.
Okay,
I did mention a boat, but I'm sorry.
I know.
That's where I met him.
Okay. But did he go overboard?
Yes, he did.
Okay. See, I thought that the whole time because I'm like, well, that's, you said boat.
That's okay. That's okay. This isn't a Columbo episode, Find the Dog. We found the dog. I wanted to talk to Venus directly because I knew him. He didn't go over on the boat ride I was on, but he went over on another boat ride.
Got it. Okay.
What happened to him after he went over? If you could tell us. Did you drown immediately or did you survive?
He didn't drown immediately. I felt like he caught on to something. I don't know. I saw a piece of wood.
Caught on to something? Were you able to get to land?
No.
No. So you got tired and eventually drowned?
Yeah.
I need you to tell me something to the person who owned you. What would you like to say to this person?
He knew he was really loved. And there was something, he was very spoiled, I'm getting. He also was, he didn't like the smell of fish. I don't know if there was food or something like that dealing with fish. He was, and I just felt like there was birds, and that's the reason why I went over. I don't know.
He was following some nutty bird?
I don't know, something like that.
Well, he might have seen them from his perch. That's absolutely accurate. This dog was incredibly, and spoiled is not the right word, but treated
very.
royalty.
He would have. It was completely out of his character to do what he did. he says. It was,
So go over.
oh, he just wasn't feeling good, he said.
Oh.
So I don't know if he was getting a little seasick. He just wasn't feeling good.
I think there was a storm going on.
Yeah. He's just telling me he was feeling a little sick.
But now, look, now you're okay.
Always. I was
Have you
okay
reincarnated since checking off the planet?
twice.
Twice. Have you been able to find your owner? Or do you want to?
He showed me a turtle. Hold on.
Wow.
Just mentioned turtle to the owner. Not,
No.
and then another dog.
And then another dog.
And it felt like something 5 years after.
Like 5 years later. And did you find this guy again? This owner?
It could have been 5 months. Sorry. He said, yeah, we were contracted to each other.
Okay. Let's talk about access. Now, for people who haven't tuned in before, this is mind-bending, but Jennifer and I have had a number of conversations with pets, and
Yeah.
accurate, not including my own and other people. So this dog was a friend of mine's dog, and he was bereft for maybe a year or two after his passing, and really, at one point he felt like you had gone to see him, Venus.
He did.
He described an incident.
Okay. He did come to see him. Again, there's something with the darn turtle. I'm not quite sure how that works. And I don't even know if it was a live turtle, but somewhere it could be something that dealt with the turtle. So it could be the place that he went.
Oh, yeah, or a stuffed turtle, or Turtle Island or something.
More like Turtle Island. Something.
Like Tortola.
Tortola. I've been to Turtle Island, actually. On below deck, believe it or not, afterwards. Ugh. Okay, talking about getting sick. Show me again. Hold on. Yeah, no more boats, right? He's been in his dream state like 3 times that he could
3 times? He told me about feeling an electrical jolt going through his body, and then a photograph of the dog flying across the room.
Yeah.
That you're doing?
Yes, absolutely, to let him know that he was still around.
And what would you like me to tell this fellow? Let's call him Bob.
Okay. So funny. You say Jack Russell Terrier, well, that's because I saw Jack. Okay. That I'm always around. I've even come back to you. But it felt like as a female. So I don't know if he got another dog that was a female.
Uh-huh.
And
maybe somebody else did that was around him.
That's it. So it felt like either some companion of his.
Maybe his sister got a dog or something?
Maybe. It just felt like somebody around him. So either I almost said girlfriend, but it could be a
girlfriend's sister. Possible. Or, I'm sorry, I mean his wife. His wife might have gotten a dog.
Or brought into the relationship. Yeah, whatever.
Pet, an animal.
It could have been someone else because he was so heartbroken. Yes.
It's unusual. So how do you access us? Are you aware of how reincarnation works? That's my first question.
All animals are aware.
And we are not.
No.
Is that frustrating for you that you recognize us and we don't recognize you?
Yes. Humans aren't that smart, he says. He says it in different terms, but we're not.
Again. No, go ahead. What?
Humans are not that smart.
Humans are not that effing smart.
Right.
Okay. So this human that you used to live with, who's a little bit of a skeptic, but he shared that weird story with me, was a movie studio head. He's a very successful guy. People who know me, people who know him, will know who I'm talking about. But what else would you like to say? By the way, Venus is named Venus because his mother was Milo, who starred in the film Mask. That's why I was able to look up the name, Jack Russell Terrier. So this is Venus de Milo.
Milo. Okay.
So people want to look that up, they'll figure out who I'm talking about. But Bob, any last words for Bob? Milo, I'm sorry, Venus. What would you like to say to Bob, other than I'm always around? I mean, what's a way for him to access you?
Think of me. I'm there on his lap. Just
say his name. Say your name. That help?
He's mentioning something about corn. I have no idea why. Just put that down there.
Eating it? Growing it?
I don't know. He just made me
corn.
He's very strict about his diet, I think. So just certain things.
Our friend.
Yes.
Our friend Bob. Yeah, I know. I think he is.
Everyone around him was, apparently, according to.
Yeah, no. This dog, I was on a yacht in the year 2000, the Millennium Cruise, and this dog had his own deck, and they had grass, like they shipped in for him. I mean, he was treated like a king, and he was adorable, and we all missed him. And I know he slid off the boat, not the boat we were on, but another trip in a storm, and my friend was bereft, beyond being bereft, for years.
And, okay, all right, hold on a second. Okay. Oh, that was the dream state he was in, because okay, so his owner kept on having nightmares that he was still alive and still floating around somewhere. That's what he kept saying.
Yes.
So what he was showing me was his nightmare. But what happened is he hit his head and he died instantly before I think he even hit the water.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Venus. I appreciate you telling me that.
Did you float it? He goes, no, that's the nightmare that keeps on reoccurring. He goes, that's not what happened. I hit my head and I was gone.
Very good. And not that that's good that you were gone, but here we are talking to you. You're
right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, listen, this podcast was about access, and it was about the process. And in the process, we talked to three pretty famous people, Luana, Bill Paxton, and Venus de Milo, the dog that Bob Shea, who founded New Line Pictures, loved and owned and misses terribly.
Why? He loved him so much. He's very sweet. He loves all the attention. He had all the attention from his owner. Women would get mad, so maybe his wife or whatever would get mad. He says that people would get mad because they knew about. He said there's no different than Hira, though. There's no difference than what Hira was.
But another dog, Oscar-nominated dog that we've talked to, Hira. Town's dog.
I know. He said that I used to make fun of that, but I don't. I don't make fun of people. Like, I get it, why people listen, I'm almost positive Freddie, my husband, is definitely going to only want to talk to Chloe, talk to Max.
It's pets. On the flip side.
Why would I talk to her? I already know. Like, I want to know what my dog says. Like,
well, we've heard this, and this is something else related to process and access, which is pets show up to owners on the flip side as a soft landing, helping them
all the
their frequency.
All the time.
All the time. Jennifer, I know I'm going to lose you.
Sorry, I got to.
It's all right. No, don't be sorry. Thank you so much for that wonderful chat with the flip side. We love you, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Okay, bye. Bye.
This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. For more information, jennifershaffer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.